Hurricane Ida slamming the Gulf Coast, forcing refineries and pipelines to at least reduce and sometimes even halt production. Colonial Pipeline supplies nearly half of the fuel used on the East Coast. It has halted deliveries. Joining us now, Andy Lipow. He is president of Lipow Oil Associates. How much do you know at this point, Andy, since it's early, about the extent of damage? I guess it's not just about damage. They close it down in advance, and in that in and of itself takes time to reopen. So what do you know as far as the current state of things?
Well, what we know right now is the 6 refineries that are in the New Orleans area down towards the Gulf of Mexico, they've all been shut in over the last couple of days. So they represent about 9% of the nation's refining capacity. We've got 3 refineries in the Baton Rouge area. It looks like they've been riding out the storm, so that's good news, even though they've cut production. With Colonial Pipeline, they did announce yesterday that they took precautionary measures to shut down the system, which means that refined products are now getting backed up into the Texas market and unable to make their way into the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic markets. Right now, we simply don't have any information on what the Colonial Pipeline, or for that matter, the Plantation Pipeline infrastructure is like after the hurricane has passed through.
No idea. And can you at least make a guess? Was it about what was expected? Worse? Not quite as bad, we're hoping?
Well, I think, probably the good news for where the pipelines are is they probably did not get flooded. Many times now the pipelines will haul in generators from out of state to get those pump stations going. I think the biggest issue is the energy utility electrical grid throughout the area. That's going to affect operations or the restoration for the oil industry, especially when we think about oil production. The Gulf of Mexico rigs seem to be okay, but when they deliver onshore to these low-lying locations like Houma, Gibson, Clovelly, that's where there could have been significant wind damage as well as flooding that would prevent the return of oil production.
Is it impossible to estimate how many barrels of lost production there are right now? Back in August 2020, when Hurricane Laura hit Lake Charles, refineries were shut down at that point, too. It was 8 to 10 weeks. What did we lose that time total?
It was, that time we only lost 2 major refineries, and it was due to Hurricane Laura landing as a Category 4 storm. And what we found is there was significant wind damage to part of the refinery infrastructure that took almost 2 months to repair. That type of wind damage is likely to have occurred on the lower Mississippi River. We saw Port Fourchon see wind gusts up to 172 miles an hour. So that would be my greatest fear for the return of refining capacity.
So August 2020, it was a Category 4. We don't have good memories, do we, Andy? Because this, I don't know, they said since 1850. We throw a lot of, I don't know, we get a lot of things thrown around about when these happen. I barely remember Laura and that was a Category 4 just last year.
I know it seems like it's ancient history already. As far as lost oil production, I'm estimating that we're going to see in excess of 10 million barrels of crude oil production that's lost. Will that matter to the price of oil, or still too small? Well, ironically, it really won't matter to the price because, on the other hand, the refineries weren't running, so that offsets the demand. Where you see the impact is actually in gasoline and diesel prices. And as we speak this morning, the gasoline futures are up only about 4 cents a gallon. They were up nearly a dime last night. And right now, the market is just simply waiting for first light to start to assess the damage and how long the infrastructure is going to be down.
Okay, Andy Lipow.